Hi everyone, I'm Sandy and welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do a fun experiment. We'll see how it goes. I would like to try and use Chat GPT to create a book review of one of my favorite books. And the book that I'm going to try this with is actually this one, Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. I did a review of this book last year. I did a discussion. I didn't do a formal review. I loved this book. It was a 5-star read for me. So I'm going to see if I can have Chat GPT write some sort of a review for this particular book. Now, what is Chat GPT if you're not familiar what this is? First, to give you a little bit about my background and why I wanted to talk about this, I've actually been working in information technology for the last 25 years, and more specifically in data, working with data, understanding data, and working in business intelligence, which I know sounds like an oxymoron, but it's all about the analytics around what companies do or how much revenue they have coming in, inventory, all of those different pieces. So I have a wide background in data. Chat GPT, and GPT stands for, sorry, I have to find it again because I have it over here. GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. It is basically a data science model, essentially. It is a chat bot. It's an artificial intelligence chat bot. So it is meant to try and interact with you and learn from the responses that you give in order to give better responses back. It is trying to understand and learn and change, admit its errors, and keep going as it interacts with different people. Now, what's really important about data science and models in particular, data science models in particular, is it's all about the data that the model has been trained on. So if we talk about this GPT or generative pre-trained transformer, it's only going to be as good as the data that was behind it. And that's a really important caveat here. So I wanted to do a book review. If the model has not been trained on book reviews, I might not get much of a response. And what we basically mean by training is you take a large set of data and you push it through an algorithm, and you're basically trying to predict, okay, based on this past behavior, what should the response be from someone who asks me a similar question in the future? So if you can imagine from a book review perspective, this might include downloading a large number of book reviews from things like Goodreads or messages from Twitter, which all have open APIs where you can, has ability for people to download information. They call it the Twitter fire hose, where you can get a large amount of data in a stream. So it is important to note that when I go through this and try this experiment, I could get a wide variety of responses depending on what data was used and the wide variety of data and whether or not they have demographic information related to that data. So the example would be, do they know the gender of the person that was writing the review? Do they know the race of the person? Do they know the age group? Do they know the income level, the education level of the people writing that review, which will help drive when people are trying to talk with this around what to write in the future. It's a really fascinating concept, and data science in particular is groundbreaking, bleeding edge type of technology that's really, frankly, very hard for me to understand in all of its complexities. A couple of the things that I do know about just data science in general is that the model can become what's called skewed. And so as you are feeding in all of this data, if you don't have your model tuned correctly, you can basically start to predict things off to the side and out of what you would expect. And so data scientists will often have ways of monitoring skew. And whenever you have a public interface like this, you always run the risk of having some type of malicious interaction with it, of people intentionally trying to skew it. John Oliver had a great segment on his show about this, about a Twitter one that was done, and it had to be brought down within minutes or hours, if I remember correctly, because people maliciously interacted with it in a way that then it was saying very racist things. Like, that's not the intent of what they were trying to do with that. So it is something that has to be monitored. Apparently, Chat GPT, which is through OpenAI, and looking at it, has some both computer monitoring and personal monitoring or person monitoring. I'm not sure what all of that means, but we're going to give it a try and see how it goes. I don't know if this is going to work. Hopefully you get to see this because it's kind of fun. But what I have out here for you is I am doing a screen capture of this. I'm actually going to start this pretty early. And I'm going to start it pretty early because I wanted to show the message that popped up when I first went into chat.openai.com. So the first thing is this is a free research preview. That's what it states out here. I saw out there that there was a stable version that was published just in February. So this is very, very new. The other part is this little red warning symbol here. While we have safeguards in place, the system may occasionally generate incorrect or misleading information and produce offensive or biased content. It is not intended to give advice. The other thing with this is because it's using data potentially of other reviews, there is a risk of plagiarism by using this. So we're going to see how this goes. So I'm going to click next. Conversations may be viewed by our AI trainers. I would expect that. Please don't share any sensitive information in your conversations. Also very important, this can go into a wide database. If you use this, know it can be used to generate other things. So it is a cautionary thing. Next thing, and we'd love your feedback. Okay, well, I will think about that. Okay, so I am in here, Chat GPT. Explain quantum computing in simple terms, capabilities, remember what the user has said in an earlier conversation, may occasionally generate incorrect information, may occasionally produce harmful instructions or biased content, limited knowledge of world and events after 2021. So this was trained on earlier data. So I am in here, I'm going to ask, right, a 500 word or less positive review of the novel Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. Hey, so I read this last year, 5-star read, love it. Let's see what this does. Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry is a captivating novel that takes readers on a journey through the American West during the late 19th century with a cast of vivid characters and a gripping plot. McMurtry's masterpiece is a must-read for any fans of Western fiction. At the heart of the novel are two retired Texas Rangers, Augustus Gus McCrae and Woodrow F. Call, who embark on a cattle drive from the dusty town of Lonesome Dove, Texas, to the lush pastures of Montana. Along the way, they encounter a host of colorful characters, including their former partner, Jake Spoon, a beautiful prostitute named Lorena Wood, and a group of dangerous outlaws led by Blue Duck. What sets Lonesome Dove apart from other Western novels is its richly drawn characters. McMurtry imbues each with a distinct personality and backstory, making them feel like real people rather than mere archetypes. Gus is the affable, wisecracking leader of the group, while Woodrow is a stoic, no-nonsense cowboy. Lorena is a complex, sympathetic character whose past experiences shape her actions throughout the novel. But it's not just the main characters who are well drawn. Even minor characters, such as the young cowboy, Newt Dobbs, and the horse thief, Joey Garza, are given depth and nuance. This may be a mistake because Joey Garza is in the third book. I don't remember him in Lonesome Dove, so that's interesting. Are given depth and nuance. McMurtry's skill in creating compelling characters is a testament to his talent as a writer. Another strength of Lonesome Dove is its evocative depiction of the American West. McMurtry's descriptions of the landscape are breathtaking, from the rugged terrain of Texas to the rolling hills of Montana. He also captures the sense of isolation and loneliness that characterized life in the West during this time period. This is particularly evident in the scenes where the characters are alone on the trail with only their horse and the vast expanse of the prairie for company. But Lonesome Dove is more than just a Western adventure. At its core, it's a story about friendship, loyalty, and the passage of time. Gus and Woodrow's relationship is the heart of the novel, and McMurtry masterfully portrays the ups and downs of their long-standing friendship. He also explores themes of aging, regret, and the search for the meaning in life, making Lonesome Dove a novel that transcends its genre. Overall, Lonesome Dove is a triumph of storytelling with its vivid characters, stunning landscapes, and timeless themes. It's a novel that will stay with readers long after they have turned the last page. Whether you're a fan of Westerns or simply love a good story, Lonesome Dove is a book that you won't want to miss. That's actually a really great review or great discussion about this particular book. I do want to put in here, I don't think Joey Garza is in Lonesome Dove. I believe he makes his first appearance in the second book in the novel. So, oops, typo, in the series. Okay, so I said that. I apologize for the error in my previous response. You are correct that Joey Garza does not appear in Lonesome Dove, but instead makes his appearance in the second book in the series titled The Streets of Laredo. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. In Lonesome Dove, McMurtry does introduce several other memorable characters such as Dietz, Jake Spoon, and Clara Allen, who add to the richness and complexity of the story. The novel still stands as a powerful and masterful work of fiction that deserves all the praise it has received. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So it recognizes that, oh, you're right, Joey Garza wasn't there, but that's part of what they talk about. You have to be careful about misleading information. What would be really interesting is if I take any of this kind of text that's here, so if I say this, and I go to the Google machine and type this in, is there anything in here that directly matches that? That would be an interesting test to see. I don't know if I can find necessarily any that would be specific in there. So I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to say, write a book review, I'm going to say write a negative book review of Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry from the perspective of a 50-year-old white woman. That's me. That's super helpful. Wow, that's super helpful. As a 50-year-old white woman, I found Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry to be a disappointing and tedious read. While the novel has been lauded as a classic of Western literature, I found it to be riddled with cliches and stereotypes that left me feeling alienated and disengaged from the story. First and foremost, I was put off by the novel's treatment of women. Okay, that's actually fair. While there are several female characters in the book, they are all defined by their relationship with men. Lorena Wood, the novel's most prominent female character, is a prostitute who is saved from a life of degradation by the attentions of men. Clara Allen, meanwhile, is a passive and subservient wife whose primary function in the story is to provide emotional support to her husband. That's actually also not true. In Lonesome Dove, by the way. As a woman, I found it frustrating and disheartening to see such one-dimensional portrayals of my gender. Moreover, I found the novel's portrayal of race to be troubling. While there are several black characters in the book, they are all servants of or laborers who exist only to serve the needs of the white characters. That's actually also not true. Dietz in the book is a black man. He is not in service of everyone else. So I'm not sure what they're talking about here. I can certainly interact and see. It says, meanwhile, the Native American characters are presented as bloodthirsty savages who are to be feared and eradicated. As someone who's committed to social justice and racial equality, I don't know how it knows that, I found these stereotypes to be deeply problematic and offensive. But perhaps most disappointing of all was the novel's lack of narrative momentum. While the premise of a cattle drive from Texas to Montana is promising, the story quickly becomes bogged down in long meandering scenes that add little to the overall plot. Funny, because I actually really liked that when they hit the trail. It was part of my favorite part of the book. The pacing is slow, the dialogue is stilted, and the action is predictable. I found myself struggling to stay engaged with the story and ultimately felt little investment in the fates of the characters. In conclusion, while Lonesome Dove may hold appeal for some readers, as a 50-year-old white woman, I mean, I did ask it to, I found it to be a deeply flawed and unsatisfying novel. Its treatment of women and people of color left me feeling alienated and frustrated, and its slow pacing and lack of narrative movement made it a chore to read. Ultimately, I cannot recommend this book to anyone who is looking for a nuanced, engaging, and socially conscious work of fiction. Yeats was a black man who wasn't in a subservient role in Lonesome Dove. Okay, so I'm going to See what it says. Thank you for correcting me. You're absolutely right that Dietz, one of the cowboys in Lonesome Dove, was a black man who was not in a subservient role. I apologize for my mistake in the previous response. That being said, I still stand by my overall negative review of the novel. While Dietz is an important character, his presence alone does not address the deeper issues I have with Lonesome Dove's portrayal of race and gender. The novel still relies heavily on stereotypes and cliches in its portrayal of these issues, and I found it to be a frustrating and problematic read as a result. Once again, thank you for bringing this to my attention, and I apologize for any confusion or offense caused by my previous statement. Editing Sandy here. One note, a very important note, is that negative review actually does have some very valid points in it about Lonesome Dove using a lot of stereotypes, how it depicts Native Americans, how it depicts women. There is a lot of that in this particular book. So I didn't want to discount that because I think it is an important piece. If you do decide to read Lonesome Dove, just know that yes, there is some of that, especially how Native Americans are depicted for the most part in this particular book. So I just wanted to come on and say that really quickly. So really an interesting, absolutely interesting way to come back and do this. I am really pleasantly surprised with the level of detail that it actually brought. I can't say that I'm going to come out here and use this particular OpenAI chat software to write my reviews for me, but I did find it really interesting that it clearly has been trained against really interesting. I mean, it has been trained against a wide variety of data. Very, very interesting, very fun kind of way of looking at this. I'm really interested. I agreed with a lot of what this said and thought it was really fascinating that it was able to write this so well. What did you think of it? What did you think of this process? Do you have a book that you would like to see Chat GPT write a review? Please let me know. I'd love to hear that. Overall, I'm pleasantly surprised with how well it did. I'd be curious in 6 months to a year if it starts to get more skewed, if it starts to have any issues in there. But this was actually quite a bit of fun. I'm very surprised that it wrote as nice of a review as it did. But with that, let me know what you think in the comments down below. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, everyone, thanks. Bye.